Hello and welcome to the Drexel interview. I'm your host, Paula Marantz Cohen, speaking to you from the Drexel University Picture Gallery. Today our guest is the legendary filmmaker John Waters, whose films include Pink Flamingos, Polyester, Hairspray, Serial Mom, A Dirty Shame, and others, all with his inimitable boundary-transgressing stamp. John Waters is also the author of several books, including the recent Role Models, that deals with figures who have been formative influences in his life. John Waters, welcome to the Drexel interview.
Thanks.
You are a cult filmmaker, and I know you hate being called that.
No, I want to be a cult leader.
You want to be a cult leader?
Yeah.
Well, you talk about that in your book, and you go through exactly what that would entail.
Well, my comedy cult. I'm the only cult you can join that your parents wouldn't hire somebody to unbrainwash you. They'd want me to keep them.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that, but perhaps we'll see as we continue our discussion. But this whole cult business with you, and I wonder if you could address whether this is something you aspire to as a child. Did you want to be a cult figure, or at least let me put it this way, did you want to be someone who would be talked about?
Yes, very much so. I wanted to be a cartoon character. I wanted to be a villain in Disney movies when I was young. That's what I wanted to be. Yeah,
okay.
They always are the better parts, the better costumes. I thought I was Captain Hook for a year. I wanted to be Patty McCormick in The Bad Seed. I wanted to sit in that little electric chair, that little pink electric chair that they said she was going to get.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in show business. My parents took me to be on the Howdy Doody show. I saw that it was all fake, and I was anything but disillusioned. I wanted to be in on it. I wanted to be behind the scenes.
That's
so I always knew.
You liked the fake aspect, the staged aspect.
Yes, I knew that it wasn't true. Most children would be disillusioned if they watched their favorite TV show, and then when they got there, they saw there's 5 Howdy Doody puppets, or that it was a tiny little set in the middle of this giant studio. I didn't know that, but it intrigued me, and I wanted to be part of this because I knew the truth behind the fantasy that what show business was.
Interesting. And you wanted perhaps to manipulate it, too.
Well, all directors were puppeteers. You can ask every one of them. They all played with puppets because they eventually turn humans into puppets, and actors hate that, but in a little bit it's true. And I was a writer in the very beginning. I had a career in puppetry. I gave puppet shows for children's birthday parties till I started putting fake blood in it and the parents stopped hiring me. But I had a good career when I was about 11, 12 years old, where I made $25 a show, which was really a lot in the 1950s. So I was in show business already.
Okay, well, that's interesting, the puppets, and you do mention in your book that Clarabelle, the psychotic clown from Howdy Doody, was a role model.
He was a role model, and even more so when I found out that the same actor, I think Bob Keeshan is his name, not only was the original Clarabelle in Howdy Doody, then he became Captain Kangaroo for many years afterwards. Yeah.
I didn't know
so
that.
Imagine his life. He was both those people. Talk about insane. What an insane
Those are polar
lifestyle.
opposite.
Well, but still, they had to be
Personas.
around. There were fantasies for children their whole life, and psychotic was. Clarabelle was frightening. Actually,
Yes.
he was mute. He never said anything, and he just squirted you with seltzer water and ranted and honked a horn in a very aggressive manner. And you can tell by Divine, in a way, the makeup was the same. In
Divine's makeup was after
Clarabelle in a way. There was a tribute to Clarabelle, or Flubadub. That was someone I liked very much on Howdy Doody. That still. When I get dressed, I think of Flubadub, because Flubadub's outfits were very eccentric.
Do you think your aesthetic is sort of, I won't say stalled, but derived from something of the 4 to 6 year old, I guess what would Freud say?
Well,
the Oedipal phase.
Freud said the very best thing ever, what's in my book, as he said about psychiatry, was turning hysterical misery into common unhappiness. What a great line. I think
and you
Freud
turned
was
it back
right.
again into hysterical misery.
No, hysterical happiness. Hysterical, happy neurotic. That's what I am, a hysterical, happy, neurotic person. And I think that's what I try to tell you in the book, that it's okay to be neurotic if you choose that, and if you develop that, and you have fun with that. If it doesn't, and you choose it, if it comes at you and you make the same decision over and over and it's painful, then you're an unhealthy neurotic.
Well, that's an interesting point. We're jumping ahead a little, because but I'm struck, I was thinking about your films, and I was thinking, what is their feeling? What is their aesthetic? And what I derive from them is they're shocking, they're brutal, and they're...
No, they're not brutal.
Well,
I'd
brutal.
very much argue that point.
Okay,
I think
well,
they're the
we can
exact
argue
opposite.
it, but maybe
Okay.
my third point will counter that. They're sweet-natured.
Yes.
So that combination...
They're kind. They're not
they're
mean-spirited.
kind.
Yeah.
They're not mean-spirited.
And brutal to me is mean-spirited.
Not always. It can be stagey brutal.
Oh, you mean violence.
Maybe violence is
Okay,
the better word.
violent, yes, but I hate real violence. If the TV is on and it shows like a newscaster committing suicide or a bomb blown up kills, I can't look at it. But I can go watch Saw and see 2 hours of torture, because no one thinks that's fake.
That's
Everyone
not
knows
brutal.
that's fake.
That's violent.
No one's that stupid that goes to a horror movie and says,
Yeah.
were those people really killed? No one's that dumb.
Okay. Well, do you like the more stylized, artsy, like Quentin Tarantino type?
I love Quentin. Are you kidding?
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
I'm a
wondered.
big fan of his. I've interviewed him on stage before. We're
Okay.
friends.
Okay.
But I don't think he's so arty, but I know what you mean. He gets good reviews and sort of does exploitation films that are intelligent. His knowledge is exploitation films, and that's what he is commenting on, certainly, when he makes the movies.
So in some sense, well, you're commenting on different sorts of
But
things.
exploitation films were a huge influence on me, certainly in all my films. What do you think Pink Flamingos, I always said, was an exploitation film for art theaters?
Okay, yeah. Well, Pink Flamingos, let's talk about that. Was really your breakthrough. Would you call it your breakthrough film?
My breakdown film would be better.
Your breakdown, but it did get noticed.
It's still noticed. It's still 20-year-olds see it and it works. It didn't get nicer.
And you still get asked the same question, which I won't ask you.
Yes is the answer. And the home viewers will know the question and know the answer.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Dreamlanders, your troupe, your repertory group. Talk to us about how you brought these people together, or how they came to you, how you chose them.
Well,
Including
they were just
Divine,
my
of course.
friends, really, that we hung out with. I mean,
Not
all
actors.
kids make their first movies with their friends. That's what we did. No, how do you, when you're 16 and you have no money and you're just making a film out back in your house, you use your friends. And my friends were more eccentric than maybe other people's friends, or certainly had developed a persona that was more stood out, was not like the normal person. But I always hung around with kids that didn't fit in their own minority. I didn't either. So we hung out together, and we made these movies. And LSD was a part of it. It certainly was.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying if I had a kid, I'd be uptight if they took LSD. But I had a great time on LSD, and nothing bad ever happened. But people I took it with are dead from becoming drug addicts. So it all depends on each person, how you deal with something. Same way I drank when I was a teenager. I'm not an alcoholic, but people I know are. Each person's tolerance or how they use, and in the arts, there's all sorts of terrible things that happen to artists. It's diseases, AIDS, overdosing. It hits the artist community stronger, I think, because we all are damaged people, or we wouldn't go into a business that asks us to ask the public if we're good or not for the rest of our life.
Well, you have a contrary aesthetic. Wouldn't you say that's true? Whatever is mainstream, you will turn around.
No, I love the Chipmunks.
Well,
I'm not saying, I think that my aesthetic is getting more and more normal. I think that I'm an insider now. I don't think I'm an outsider at all anymore. And I'm proud of that, because everybody wants to be an outsider. When I was young, nobody wanted to be. Now they all want to be.
That's why you're being contrary. Right?
No, well, being contrary is just, it's happened. That's certainly, you're right. What bad taste is now what we export. That's what America exports in entertainment. All the television shows that play all over the world certainly have an element of bad taste in it. And as I said, I don't think there's any bad taste in my new book. In my movies, we're filled with irony. Yes, I'm an irony peddler. And eat like a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But at the end of Pecker, they toast the end of irony, because irony is snobbish, elitist. I mean, is anything...
So you think you've gone beyond irony?
Yes, in the book I have, because I don't think I'm completely serious. And when I say that everybody in these books did inspire me. Now, I recognize they wouldn't be everyone's... Gandhi is not in my book. Other people's kind of...
But Tennessee Williams is in your book.
Tennessee Williams is, but Tennessee Williams was
the
not
bad
universally...
You like the bad Tennessee Williams.
I like the bad Tennessee Williams, when the stuff he did that was not as well received, because I think failures can be as interesting in real life. And my favorite bad failed art film ever is a movie called Boom. which is based on the Tennessee Williams play, The Milk Train Doesn't Stop Here Anymore, and it's with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Oh.
The play was Tab Hunter and Tallulah Bankhead, and my parents didn't take me, and I call that child abuse.
Well, speaking of Tab Hunter,
Yeah.
he was, I guess, the first of the so-called celebrity.
First Hollywood
star.
I had Liz Renee before, who was a celebrity, but she was a gun moll.
Oh,
and Mickey Cohen's girlfriend, and a stripper with her daughter. They had a mother-daughter strip act. That's a celebrity in my world,
okay,
too.
but Tab Hunter was more known.
Yes.
Tab Hunter, since then, of course, you've had an array of Johnny Depp, Melanie Griffith, Johnny Knoxville, Tracy Ullman, of course, and Kathleen Turner.
Yep.
Now, how did these people come to you? Did they seek you out? Did you look for them?
Today, any movie has to have stars in it to get made, no matter what the budget. If it's $3, they still want 12 movie stars in it to work for scale. You have a meeting, and when I'm casting the movie, which I certainly do with Pat Moran in Baltimore, and I've done other casting agents, certainly around the country, go to LA and New York. But for the star, to get the film financed, you have to have a star attached, or more than one now. You have a meeting with them. They don't read, they're too big a star, and the meeting is sort of a fake out where you look at them and think, are they going to be such a diva? Are they going to be such a jerk that we'll never get the film made? Are they going to ask me about their motivation while I'm losing my light? And they're thinking, is this man insane? Am I going to ruin my whole career because of him? You say neither, but you're scoping each other's out. And how I can tell is if they have any sense of humor about their career and being in show business. If they can't, they'll never last in Baltimore with me. And I've never picked the wrong one. I've gotten along with all of them, and I'm really happy, and I pick people because I think they're really good actors. I don't pick anybody because I think they're bad. I pick Sonny Bono because who do you get if you don't get Sonny Bono? There's only Sonny Bono.
To be
Pia
Sonny
Zadora,
Bono,
I got her good reviews. So I'm saying that I don't use irony so much in casting. Well, it's surprising. Certainly Sam Waterston was the only person that I think was ironic that was in my movies. People said, how'd you get him to be in the movies?
Did he come to you? Did he want
nobody comes. When
No,
you have a
aren't there
movie,
people
the word is out. The
Yeah.
casting, the movie's in production. So you meet stars, and all the agents talk to each other and everything. So,
But you're the sort of filmmaker, being a cult filmmaker, that you would have people who would say, I want to be in a John Waters movie. So they would
they never
approach
come to you anyway because then they lose leverage and salary.
Oh, okay. They have to figure out a
There's
circuitous.
a dance. And unfortunately, the ones that really do want to come towards me are the ones I don't want. People that were just in tabloid scandals or that kind of thing, which I don't want. And even when, I guess Crybaby was the last movie I cast really with, I guess, what is called stunt casting, which I think is a negative term.
Yeah.
But I had everybody. I had Patricia Hearst married to David Nelson from Ozzie and Harriet with Tracy Lords as their daughter.
Yeah.
You know, to me, I was just casting as a good dinner party.
Yeah.
But I loved all those people I put in the movie. And same way, I mean, my main thing is when I'm making a comedy, except for Tracy Ullman, she was the only one I went against what I believe in, is I never cast just a comedian. Because I want them, and my direction to all of them is play the lines exactly like you believe every word of it. Don't wink at the audience. The fact that they bought an admission price is a wink.
Right. But she never winks as a
No,
comedian.
but
She's
Tracy
an unusual.
was absolutely great. You know.
Is there an
she was a
actress
comedian,
or an actor that you would like to have that you would say who, you know?
Sure, Meryl Streep. Who wouldn't want Meryl Streep?
Oh, okay, that's
know?
what I meant.
And Meryl Streep now is even more impossible to get. She's a huge movie star now that actually movies make money. So good for her. I think she's great.
Yeah, but she's the kind of person that might very well want to be in a
You
John
never
Waters
know.
movie.
You know, but I think not.
not?
But I've met her. She was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Baltimore. Tell us about Baltimore, your hometown where you grew up, actually in the suburbs, right?
Well, I grew up in the suburbs and got out quickly.
But you set your films usually in the suburbs with a back and forth.
If they're in the suburbs, it's somebody escaping from the suburbs, and the suburbs are the villain. I wanted to get out of suburbia as soon as I could, and suburbia is still where I have trouble. I'm frightened in a shopping mall, like an old white lady in Harlem. Really, but I'm happy on death row or in fancy
bars.
places, scary bars, which I write a lot about in my book. So,
well, getting back to suburbia, though, I do think, though, the houses in your films, they are, they are the quintessence of suburban house. And Pink Flamingos, there's a good house.
Well, the beginning of Pink Flamingos. No, there's not a Pink
house?
Flamingos, is there? In Female Trouble there is when she runs away from home.
And Polyester has a
yes,
house.
that does.
Yeah.
But that's a hideous suburban house. That's called Polyester. I mean, that would be my nightmare to live in that house. So when we're showing those houses,